Okay. Hello. Let me put my image up so we can. All right, folks. Hello, people coming in. Okay, so to start off, let me start off by saying I don't usually do a ton of live streams, Gym Pop live streams. I have a Patreon. I should start off there. I have a Patreon where I talk to them regularly, but I don't usually do Gym Pop, a ton of lives on Gym Pop. But I got the transcript for Akira versus Brenay. You see the image here. I got the transcript for that because I wanted to understand what happened in the actual trial. I made a video a while ago about that case. That low-key went viral. My version of the video did well. But because the case wasn't streamed, I couldn't follow it the way I like to follow it. I know a lot of people were there, and shout out to all of the people who were in the courtroom documenting and following what happened with this case. But I wanted to get the actual transcript because there's just so much more information when you get the transcripts. So this is a little bit of a little messy. It's a little bit of a messier situation than I typically do. Okay, I'm telling you now. So if you're like, what is she doing? I get it. You can tap out. But I wanted to read through the transcript with y'all. If you're in my Patreon, I sent it so y'all can read along yourselves. But I want to read through the transcript because it is quite a time. So a little bit of context in case you need it. Maybe I can make it big. Okay. So Akira, was married to, actually, I need another picture because I need the fourth person. Akira was married to Tim, right? The man in this picture. And Brenay was married to Tim's cousin named Devin, who's not in the picture. Let me see if I can get the picture of all four. Tim, Brenay, Devin, and Akira. Let me see if I can get a photo with all four of them. When I Google this, my video comes up, which is hilarious. I don't see one like the one I have up. I don't see one that good. But regardless, Akira was married to Tim, and Brenay was married to Tim's cousin named Devin. They were a group of four and friends. And like I said, Tim and Devin were cousins. And what ended up happening is Brenay and Tim began sleeping together, right? And so in North Carolina, you can sue for that. You can sue the person who breaks up your marriage. So it's called alienation of affection as well as criminal conversation. And so Akira filed the lawsuit against Brenay for basically breaking up her marriage with Tim. Now, Brenay, you gotta follow me, it's a lot of names. Brenay's husband, Devin, who again is Tim's cousin, has also filed a lawsuit against Tim for breaking up his marriage with Brenay. So I know. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Here we go. Sorry, I'm just now reading y'all comments. And I know there's some recent stuff with this. Okay. So again, I'm telling you now, I am going to be talking about the transcript itself because I wanted to read y'all. If you're familiar with my content, I like to read specifically what I want to know what exactly happened. So I know there's some new motions in this trial, in this case, a lot of new stuff. This is going to go specifically through the recap the transcript from day 2. So everybody caught up. Here we go. Okay, y'all got all the players. Y'all got all the key people. Let me put up the transcript. Oh, and I need to send myself. Hold on, I gotta send myself a link because I took notes. I took notes when I was reading because when I wanted to do. Oops. Okay, so let me pull them down and let's put up the transcript. Hold on. Okay, so and while I'm doing that, if you are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I'm at 99,800 subscribers, and I'm trying to get to 100 before the end of the year. So if you're not subscribed on my YouTube, if you're watching this right now, make sure you subscribe on my YouTube while I pull this up. So to start off, you should know that Akira had an attorney, right? The wife who did the suing had an attorney. Now, Brenay represented herself. So the biggest question I had was, what was Brenay's opening statement, right? And I know there's some videos floating around. Let me see if I can pull up the videos just so y'all have context of Brenay's opening statement. Because it's not, I don't want to laugh at this. I truly don't. Worth it to go through what happened. Hold on, let me just show you really quickly the can y'all see that? I can't make it big. Can't make it big. Well, this, from what I understand, is her opening statement. And it was very short. Well, anyway, let's go through what she actually said when she was standing on that stage. So Brenay started on page 29. And I'm just, let's get to it. So all of this was Akira's opening, her attorney's opening, and I'll touch a little bit on what she said. But here we go. I'm going to start right here. The court, she says, thank you, Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, again, was Akira's attorney. And so the court, the judge says, Ms. Kennard, will there be an opening statement from the defendant? Ms. Kennard, Brenay, says, yes, Your Honor. The court says, the jury is with you. And then Ms. Kennard, again, Brenay, says, as you know, my name is Brenay Montague. Okay, because she's married to Tim now. So she says, my name is Brenay Montague. I'm here before you, one, to prove that everything that has been accused about me is not true. In the alienation of affection and criminal conversation, that's what she's suing her for, in the alienation of affection and criminal conversation is built on facts, not sympathy, facts, that they were already separated. They didn't have a loving, happy home. This isn't the first time either. Keep that in mind. And I'm here supporting. I have supporting witnesses to support everything of this case, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and that's all I have to say. And then the judge says, thank you, ma'am. The plaintiff may call her first witness. So listen, that is why I wanted to get the documents, because I was like, well, what would I say in my opening statements, right? Like, what would I say? And so there you go. That is her opening statement. Yes. Yes. So again, quickly, I'll tell you. Akira Montague, okay, was married to Tim Montague. Brenay Kennard broke up that marriage according to the jury, but she is now married to Tim. So all the people on the screen right here, all of their last names apparently are now Montague. So that makes it a little bit awkward, but that, yes, she's married to Tim now. Yes, that is what happened. Okay. So I will quickly talk a little bit. Let's go just a little bit about what Akira's attorney actually said about the lawsuit. So just so you have some kind of a basis. So here she is. She's saying, my plaintiff is Miss Montague, who again is Akira. The defendant's name is Kennard because it's confusing. But and here's what she says. Imagine having a close friend that you never thought would betray you. Imagine being married to a man and raising 2 children and believing that this was the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with. Imagine feeling betrayed by the 2 people that were close to you. Imagine having 2 children and they now do not have a father in their home. Today, the evidence will show you that my client was married to Mr. Montague, who is here today sitting behind the defendant, Brenay. The evidence will show you they have 2 children, that she was in a marriage that was happy and affectionate. But for her closest friend's action, they are no longer married. And in fact, evidence will show you that they are now divorced. She goes on to say that Akira and Brenay were actually close friends. And at the time, the defendant was married to my client's husband's cousin. You following? You following? Okay, remember, Brenay was married to Tim's cousin. But now Brenay is married to Tim. She's not married to Tim's cousin anymore because she's married to Tim. Okay. One of our witnesses today is her ex-husband. His name is Devin Mayo. Devin. What he will testify to is that they were friends. Married couples hang out with each other. However, you don't think that the other couple would sleep with your wife. Oh, yes. Sequoia, the sister is also brought up in this transcript. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. I know. I'm sorry. Now I'm feeling bad. Okay. So anyway, they went on double dates. They spent time together, and the testimony presented today will show, in fact, that the defendant knew that my client was married to Mr. Montague and did not care about her actions. Evidence will show that, in fact, she befriended Miss Montague. She pretended to be her friend. She confided in her because why shouldn't you be able to trust your friend? So she basically sets up their relationship here, meaning Akira and Tim. And then when Brenay kind of came in and, as they say, kind of broke up the marriage. So that's the first part. So after the opening statements from both sides, the first witness is called, and Akira, who again was the wife, is the first witness called to the stand. So she's the first one, and she talks that she sets the whole thing up basically. So let me go to that. She talks about kind of, they're establishing how happy Akira and Tim were before Brenay came in, because again, that's the whole point, is that Brenay broke up this happy home. So you first have to prove that it was a happy home. And so she talks about, like, 2023, they were going on cruises together. Even with Brenay and Tim, they were spending all this time together, Christmas and celebrations. They were, at one point, she's asked about her sex life with him, if they were having sex regularly. So all of that is to show we were happy, but for Brenay kind of coming in and intruding on this relationship. But let me go to 59. So this is, I'm speeding through because this is Akira talking about the relationship that I just kind of went through for you. Oh, before I do that though, I just want to, where is my page? 59. There was a point where the judge had to tell Brenay, she was like, I know, you're married to him. I'm calling you Brenay Kennard, but I know technically, like, you're Montague. It was just a very, very funny moment. Oh, it's 55. That's why. Okay. Here it is. This is the court. All right, but they had taken a break. And so the judge says, Miss Montague, meaning Akira, because again, Miss Montague, if you will retake the witness stand. And then the judge says, and Miss Kennard, I have been referring to you as Miss Kennard throughout the case because that's the way the captions read on all the papers. Brenay says, yes, sir. The judge says, I'm going to continue referring to you as Miss Kennard just to be consistent and clear, but I mean no disrespect by that. And then Brenay says, yes, I understand. And then they bring in the jury. And that's, again, because everybody's last name is Montague. Because everybody's together. Okay, let me keep going. So one of the things that comes out is before Tim cheated with Brenay, I hope y'all are following. Before Tim cheated with Brenay, he cheated with somebody else as well. And so that, oh yeah, F that judge. Let's get disrespectful. It's hilarious. So Tim cheated before he cheated with Brenay. And so that Akira talks about that. You see here. So there was a time where he was in college. Timothy did have an affair, but we did reconcile. This is Akira talking. She's, of course, on the stand. But it was not only hard because she's talking about her pregnancy. One of her pregnancies was really hard. And at that point, he was having an affair. And so her attorney says it was hard. And I will have to ask about the infidelity. Did you decide to remain with your husband when he cheated before? And she says, yes, we talked it out. We worked it out and I forgave him and we put in the work and we were good. We reconciled. We went on vacations and everything. We still had love and affection afterwards. And then the attorney says, and what year did you say the first infidelity happened? She says it was while I was pregnant with our daughter. So 2020, between 2020 and 2021. And she said, and the attorney says, and what, if anything, can you tell the court about your marriage with Mr. Montague from 2020? Although I didn't know that he was cheating because I still had love and affection for him, there was no distance from him. There was nothing. So I had no idea. Our marriage, from my eyes, it was good. Although he stayed on campus because it was his freshman year of college and I stayed in my mom's home. So the distance is what got him. But other than that, we were fine. We were good. It was in my eyes, it was great. I had no clue anything was going on. So again, that is, let me take you down. That is Akira speaking about the first affair. She's saying, we got better. It was okay after he cheated the first time, but then he went back and cheated again. So in some of my videos, I've seen people questioning if Devin and Tim were really cousins. And it is all throughout this transcript that is true. They were cousins. And I'll put it here again. Akira was talking about how things started to change until the attorney says, you indicated that things started to change when Brenay came around your husband. Akira says, yes. What do you mean by that? So we spent a lot of time together because, again, Devin is his cousin. This is just one of the many times where it's very clear that these people are cousins. They were always close from what I was told. So I'm very big on family. So I wanted to keep family close. So they were very clear. If you see comments of people saying they were not cousins, according to everything presented, they were absolutely cousins. Let me go down a little bit more. And here she's saying, so whenever Devin came around, and of course, Kennard, meaning Brenay, it seemed like Brenay and Tim would act like me and Devin, their spouses, didn't exist. So they would have conversation more and more. But then when I tried to get in the conversation, or Devin tried to get in the conversation, it will be, we're not talking to y'all. You don't know what we're talking about, this, that, and the third. But we're your spouses. We know everything about you like the back of our hands. Why can't we join the conversation? So this is her and Devin being like, y'all are getting really close. What's going on? So that's what I mean by Kennard came around. He started distancing himself. He stopped helping me cook. He stopped helping me clean. And my grandmother can testify. I'll skip all of that, but she kind of goes more into it. Okay, wait, before I keep going, I'm confused. And tell me why. I want to make sure y'all are following. Yes, the two husbands were cousins, not the ladies. That's why I need the picture of Devin. Let me see if I can get the picture. I feel like you need the other picture to understand. You need the fourth person. This is a funny picture. Let me see if I can use this one. Nobody has the picture of Devin. He must be minding his business. My cousin would have been my late cousin. Yeah, nobody has the picture. He has a page, but I don't have his page up. Let me put This one, and then I'm gonna keep going. We still don't have Devin though. But okay, so the first wife, ex-wife, that's Akira. The mistress, current wife, that's Brenay. And then homeboy at the bottom, obviously, is Tim. You're just missing Brenay's husband or ex. Yes. But Devin is suing Tim, and that trial is coming. Yes, Devin is suing. Yes, that is correct. He is suing. Okay, let me go back to the transcript. So again, as the attorney is establishing that Akira and Tim were happy, okay, as the attorney is establishing that Akira, first wife, and cheating husband were happy before Brenay came along, she's asking her like about what they were doing leading up to the affair. Were you guys actually, spending time together? There had to be, before you can alienate affection, there has to be affection to start off with. And so Brenay Akira is testifying, yes, we were happy. Like she ruined our marriage type stuff. And so here is what she's talking about. They went on a cruise in July of 2023. They being Akira and Tim went on a cruise in July of 2023. And so she's asking her, this is where she's kind of asking her like about her sex life. So she's saying, prior to your husband getting close with the defendant, meaning Brenay, what was his involvement in the home? Tim actually likes to cook, so he really cooked most of the time. I was the one that cleaned, so I kind of established that in the household. He stopped cooking. With 2 kids, I need his help cleaning up too. She goes around like it's hard to keep the house clean. There was no more playtime with Bailey's, talking about Tim isn't playing with the kids anymore. Like not only was I cut short, but our kids were cut short emotionally and with attention. And then the attorney says, so you indicated that once the defendant came around, your husband, he changed. What year and month? She says November 2023 up until their date of separation. So the husband and wife, meaning Akira and Tim, separated in March of 2024. But up until that point, she was saying things were good. So they're going through some exhibits showing pictures of what they were doing. And I just want to go through her talking about it. One second. Oh, so here it is. All right, now it's going to be a personal question. Did you sleep with Mr. Montague on the cruise? So the attorney is saying, were you and your husband having sex? Yes. But she's like, my mom is looking at me as she answers the question, because she was asking her how often was she sleeping with her husband. And so she's like a couple times a day on the cruise. And she goes through and she's like, it was good. Their sex life was good. If he wanted it, he got it. If I wanted it, I got it. Then she says, sorry, daddy. But then she's like, in January, basically they were good. In February, they were good. March, April. So leading up to the affair, according to her and her perspective, her and her husband were good and regularly having sex with each other, including, she said that she testified that she actually got pregnant in November. Oh, good idea. She got pregnant in November. And so again, she's like, that is going to show that we were happy and engaging in sex with each other. Clearly, if she ended up getting pregnant in November, which seems to be around the time or close to the time to when the affair started. And she even into 2024. Did you sleep with him in January 24? Yes. February 24? Yes. March of 2024? Yes. Seems like it got cut off between March and April 1st is when she basically says that was the last time they had sex, but that's also around the time that they officially separated. And then she gets to finding out he was sleeping with his cousin. So she ends up putting her husband out. So I actually told him he had to leave. The way our house is set up, the living room came with the door. It's an older house. She kind of goes through. She had him sleeping in the living room, basically. And the attorney says, why did you put him out? Disgust. He touched her, and I couldn't wrap my head around that because that's your cousin's wife. So I was really disgusted with him as a human being, as someone that was supposed to protect his wife and kids. You allowed that to happen. it just showed how weak he was as a person, that he couldn't fight temptation or speak on his feelings when he had that type of communication. And she says, and what, if any, conversation did you have with your then husband about Brenay? She says, I told him that when I allowed her to, so let me read it and then I'll just say the next part. When I allowed her to stay at our home for claims of domestic abuse from her then husband, Devin, which was in fact a lie, that I was uncomfortable. Like she needs to go, because it seemed like whenever I tried to sit next to him on the couch, she seemed to be closer to him and further away from her husband. It's almost like she was prying her way in. I was severely uncomfortable. A little bit of context of what she's talking about. Brenay came and stayed with Akira and Tim twice before the affair, leading up to the affair. The first time it was around like a holiday time or something, and she said it was around Thanksgiving in November, I think, of 23. She was saying she wasn't getting along with her family, and so she asked if she could stay with them, and Akira was like, yes, you can stay at our house. The second time Akira allowed Brenay to stay in the house, Brenay accused Devin, her then husband, of being abusive towards her. And so that's what she's talking about when she says, I allowed her to stay at our home for claims of domestic abuse from her then husband, Devin, which was in fact a lie. She apparently claimed that Devin was physically abusive or had done something to her. And so Akira allows her to stay in the house. And actually, I think she talks a little bit more about it. I'll read. She says, okay, the second time is when Timothy actually called me and said, so Tim calls her and says, hey, babe, Brenay needs to come stay at the house or something, probably because Devin just rose up at her. Devin just rose up on her. And I, meaning Akira, was like, okay, calm down. What's going on? Well, Devin tried to do this and that, and I couldn't really understand him, but I did get the understanding that it was some kind of domestic dispute. I see my mom go through domestic violence, blah, blah, blah. So she says, I'm a genuine person, no question about it. Come over here. You can stay here. You got beef with your family. Come stay here. It's a safe place. So she allows Brenay to come stay in her house. I got you, sis. Brenay and Devin were breaking up, and Brenay lied and said that Devin bucked at her, and she came to say they're to be safe in a care. Yes, that what I just read, basically. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that too. That's in here. So she allowed her to come stay in her house. That was the point of that. Let me keep going. She meaning Akira, then begins talking about, let me go to the page so you have a context. This is when Brenay is staying at their house, and the attorney says, what, if anything, did your husband tell you about his relationship with Kennard, meaning Brenay? So this is now Akira talking about what she knew about Brenay generally. And so Akira says, so him meaning Tim, his relationship with Brenay prior to us getting married, to be honest, he told me that Brenay and her twins, she has a twin sister, were hot in the tail, is what they would say, which means they were the ones that got around in school. He told me that Brenay and her sister would perform sexual favors at the school. So that's how I was introduced to her before Tim, put Devin and Brenay together. So Tim actually hooked his cousin up with Brenay, who, again, according to what she's saying, was just hot in the streets. And it was just so Devin can get off, is what she says. The two of them, Brenay and Devin, ended up actually liking each other and got married. Yes, this is all from the first day of the transcript. Yes, Brenay has a twin. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know why this part happened, but The attorney says, and you talked about social media. What is the defendant's occupation? Meaning, what does Brenay do? And Akira says, respectfully, to all those that actually have careers, I don't think social media is a career or an occupation. I just think it's something to do. And then she's like, the attorney says, I can rephrase. What does the defendant do for a living? And then Akira says, she eats on camera. She spends money on camera. She documents every little thing of her life. I mean, as far as, excuse me, pooping in the bathroom, like she records her life. She probably is telling me to get off. You don't want me to go through these transcripts. I'm going to go through, girl. Shout out to you for winning, though, if you're watching. Let me keep going. So she's talking about like what she does. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of answering the question, there's a disruption outside the courtroom. And then the judge says, everybody sit down, ma'am, sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to excuse you to the jury room for just a few minutes. Do not discuss the case. Everybody stays in the room. Then the judge says, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, my primary concern is to protect the jury and the integrity of this process and make sure that both Ms. Montague and Ms. Kennard get a fair trial. That takes precedence to anything else, including your right to sit out there and watch this trial. There is too much coming and going while court is in session. And from this point forward, bailiffs, nobody will enter or leave the courtroom while court is in session. If you think that you can't sit here while we're in session until the next recess, don't come in. Oh, apparently Akira's aunt and somebody got into it on day one. Oh, Kat's in here? Hey. So yeah, then the jury gets called back in. Jury enters the courtroom, and then the judge kind of says to disabuse whatever the disturbance was from your mind. And then they keep going. I said, they were in what was happening in North Carolina, okay? Okay, so then they get to, let's keep going. Brenay is staying with him. The way I'm reading this, Brenay is staying at the house with him, and the attorney begins asking why Akira started feeling uncomfortable with Brenay and Tim, like what was happening. And here it is. Now to clarify, what, if anything, made you feel that the defendant was having inappropriate conversations with your husband? Akira says, I feel like she crossed a lot of boundaries, which raised questions. I might be a little old school, but if your husband is on one side of the couch, why are you sitting next to mine? My then husband was raised by his father with chivalry. Why are you opening her door and not my door? She has a husband. He's right there. Little things like that. I'm old school thanks to my mom and dad. I feel like that's too much, that you're crossing boundaries, especially if your spouse is there. If it's one thing if he's not. Fixing his plate instead of fixing your husband's plate. Let me tell you what, I'm gonna just pause really quick. Bitch, I wish you would fix my husband's plate. Excuse me. Let me keep going. Little things like that make me very uncomfortable. I saw the neglect that Devin, that's Brenay's husband, was getting and the extra love that my husband was getting. And then the judge says, now you indicated earlier in testimony that you were uncomfortable. Yes, about Brenay coming and staying in the marital home, because remember, she's staying. Yes. At what point did you become uncomfortable? She says, so it was at one point. I'm not early bird. I go to sleep pretty early, 8 o'clock, I'm in the bed. So when I would go to bed early and I would wake up like about 10 or 11, and I noticed that for him to have to be to work the next day, you're still up and you're in the living room. And again, her living room has a door and it shuts. You're in the living room with her when you need to be in the bed. You didn't help me put the kids to bed and you have the door shut. Stuff like that made me uncomfortable, because why do you need to close the door? Girl, I have a door I can close to the room, but to shut you guys off on the other side of the house, I thought that was very inappropriate and it made me uncomfortable. That's the stuff that my kids do when they're trying to be sneaky. And the attorney says, did you ever express how uncomfortable you were? And she says, yes. At one time, I mentioned it to him and he brushed it off and went to the next conversation. Another time, he made it seem like I was being delusional, that I was just imagining things, even if I seen it with my own two eyes and felt them with my own emotions. Another time, when I started questioning him more about it, he just straight denied. There's nothing this, there's nothing. Me and her are not doing this, we're not doing that. He was denying that him and Brenay had anything to do with each other, like in a sexual way or anything more than a friendship. And then she goes in to say, like, I always believe my husband. I'm old school like that. Like, if my husband say it, then I believe it type stuff. See, here she says, so if he said he didn't rob the bank and he robbed the bank, I don't care if you got him on camera. He didn't do it. Girl. Okay. Then she's going to go. So then she gets into things are happening. She's getting stressed out. Brenay is there. She's feeling like uncomfortable with everything that's happening. And so she says she needs a breather. And so here it goes. One day I needed a breather and she ended up taking this drive by herself. And wherever she ended up at some store. She was returning Christmas stuff. And whatever store she was at, she saw her mom's car. She said, I memorized her license plate just in case she might get kidnapped. That is something I would say. So I memorized her license plate and I noticed it was her. Whatever store she's at, she sees her mom's car. So I got in the car with her and my grandma and I was like, y'all, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. She says that she had gotten a bunch of piercings on her face because here she goes. When I'm in emotional distress or like my mind is all over the place and I don't know what to say or do, she said that she would get piercings. She had one of my other close friends told me to go get some piercings because it always helped her when she was stressed. So she went and got a total of like 8 to 10 piercings. So she gets in this car and her grandmother and her mother are like, girl, what's wrong with your, here it is. My grandma turned around and said, now, why the hell you do that to your face? So she ends up crying because she was so emotional about everything. I broke down crying and I told her like what was going on and why I felt uncomfortable. So here she goes. My grandmother is a sailor. Verbatim what she said, oh, BS, I'm coming to the house. So she tells her people what happened. And her grandma's like, I'm gonna pull up. Akira tells her grandmother, no, don't worry about it. I'll handle it myself because I'm not a conflict person. I don't like conflict. It actually tears my nerves to pieces. I've seen family react, blah, blah, blah. She says she hates confrontation. So what happened after this? Grandma said she's coming to the house. And Akira said, no, grandma don't. And she also says her grandmother used to be a corrections officer. So they call her Big Cheryl, apparently. And she told her grandma, don't turn into CO Cheryl. Like, grandma, I got it. However, the next day, somebody knocked on the door. And it was Big Cheryl at the door. This is January 2024. Grandma then pulled up at the house. This is not funny, but I was like, oh my gosh, what am I reading? Okay, so they thought it was a stranger, but it was just grandma banging on the door. And at the time in the house, it was Akira, Brenay, Tim, and the kids, and now grandma. Okay. My grandmother came in. She saw the living room look a mess because that's where Brenay had been staying. Because remember, she stayed at the house. There was snack trash all over. This is so shady. There was snack trash all over the floor, blankets on the floor, just empty bottles. Like it looked a hot mess. So when my grandma came in, although I'm one of her favorites, when I say she came in like a linebacker because she was so pissed about how dirty the house looked, she kind of like pushed me to the side. I went right to the back and I called my mom because I already knew she was on 20, not 10, 20. Oh, grandma was on 20, she wasn't on 10, she was on 20. I was like, left her a message. She didn't answer. I called 5 times. Her mom didn't answer. I called her fiance. He didn't answer because they were in church. She called her dad. He didn't answer. She called her brother. She's crying hysterically because she's in the back of the house with the kids and she's screaming. Well, she hears them going back and forth. And hold on, she said her grandmother, the attorney said, what, if anything, was your grandmother saying to Brenay? And Akira says, my grandmother told her verbatim, I don't know where you're going to stay, but you got to get out of here because this is my house. And she says that basically they got the house. Her grandmother co-signed essentially. So because her and Tim couldn't get the house themselves, so grandma co-signed on the lease. So she's like, technically this is kind of my grandma's house. And so she's telling her, I don't know where you're going, but you have to go. And then Brenay says, I'm not going anywhere. He wants me here. He wants me here. Grandmother looked her dead in her face. She said, this my shit. Get out now before I call the cops. And then Brenay pushed the grandma. It was at this point when I was reading this upstairs, I said, I should go live because people should hear about what happened. Because what? Now she pushed the grandma? Big Cheryl. She pushed Big Cheryl. I don't even know Big Cheryl, but I would be scared to push Big Cheryl. Is this for real, y'all? We need her gift. Is this for real, y'all? That's this moment. Because, girl, what? Not you push my grandma? Okay. Yes, Brenay Kennard then pushed my grandmother. How old is the attorney said, how old is your grandmother at the time? Akira said, I don't know how old she is now. She goes backwards now. She's been 60 years. She's been 60 for a few years. She's not 70. She's less than 65. Not knowing how old your grandmother is cracking. Hey, Kat is doing nice things. Thank you. Thank you. Gifted 5 memberships. Appreciate you. Yes, Kat is in the building. That's the answer. It's just she old. I don't know how old she is. She's old. You are not going to be putting your hands on my grandma. This is crazy. Okay, let me pull it back up. Yes, if Kat just gifted you a membership, say thank you, Kat. I appreciate that. She says, what happened after that? Akira says she's crying hysterically. Now, although my grandmother is older, we call her Big Cheryl for a reason. She handles herself like she's 25. She can handle her own. So I'm actually in distress because, yes, my kids are home. And so all this is happening when my kids are in the other. She had put them in their room and locked the door so they wouldn't have to see all of this, is what she goes on to testify. She says, I don't do well with conflict. I'm immediately start to have I don't know, it's like a rush that comes over me. I start to shut down. So I drop to the ground because I got a little lightheaded. At this point, the police pull up. It's a lot happening. So much. And then at this point, everybody pulls up. My mom, my dad, brother, mom's fiance, and Tim and Brenay leave. So Akira's people pull up to the house and Brenay and Tim leave the house. And then this is what Akira says. Instead of Tim actually tending to his kids or trying to remove his kids from the situation, he could have easily put his kids in the car and went somewhere. He decided to put Brenay in the car and leave after the police are called. And during the altercation, Akira says she was telling Brenay, you have to leave because this is technically my grandmama's house. And she says that Brenay was telling her, I don't got to leave because he wants me here. He wants me here. Timothy wants me here. Timothy, as in your then husband? Yes, my husband at the time, Timothy. How much did Akira win? Because I think it need to be doubled. Double that money, girl. They need to double it just for her putting her hands on her grandma. Then she says, he got in his car that I was paying for and put her in it and they left. He also told his mother that her family came to jump him, which was not the case. And then they take a recess. Okay, hold on. Let me get to the next page. Okay, I think I need to go to page 109. What are we on? Okay, 105. So they take a break, they take a recess, they come back in, jury's brought in. Let me go. So after that incident happened, Akira and Akira's family, remember her brother, her mama's fiance, and grandma, they all go to Denny's to have what she called an intervention, to basically be like, here she goes. I come from a female dominated family and they don't tolerate weakness. They told me to keep my head up. So they were like encouraging her at the Denny's, like, girl, you don't need to be going through all this. And then they get into, so all of this happened, she says January, February. So either late January or early February is when this all happened, okay? 2024. And remember, the cruise and all the good stuff was 2023. And Brenay came in like November, December of 2023 to stay with them. Everything was fine. Well, fine, according to her. This is all January, February. And so she's asking about the criminal conversation because, like I said, there were two claims for this. Here, the balloons. Two claims for the lawsuit. There was the alienation of affection, which is what you can sue for in North Carolina, and then criminal conversation. So she says, why did you file for criminal conversation? And she says, I found out that they were engaging in conversations that two married people who are not married to each other shouldn't be had. I also sued because I spoke to her then husband, meaning Devin, about it, and he told her more disturbing things that she had no idea about. And here's more about Brenay's twin. That Devin tells Akira that their partners had been having sex with each other, and he also said, or he sent her a voice recording of Tim and I don't know if it's Corinne or Karen Kennard. This Kay Kennard, the other part is Brenay's twin sister, and the defendant's twin sister. So Devin has now provided a voice note of Tim and Brenay's sister having a conversation about how, and there it is, people. Brenay has her very first objection of the trial, her very first one. And because remember now, if you're just joining, Brenay is representing herself. And I'm so pissed because I don't know about how what. But we don't know because she objected. And guess what? The judge sustained it on hearsay grounds. And she just said object. I don't know if that's the court reporter or if she actually just said object. And she meant objection. Object, Your Honor, relevance. What does this have to do with me? Y'all talking about my twin and my now husband ain't got nothing to do with me. Objection. And the judge sustained on hearsay grounds. Oh, it's Corinne. It's Corinne. I'm saying it right? You forgot. She got her first objection. Okay. And it was sustained. And then Akira's attorney, may I proceed? So they keep going. And we got another, she must have just said object because she got another objection very shortly after, and it's object again. So I think she was saying object. I don't think she was saying objection, but I'm gonna tell y'all how we got there. So the first objection sustained. The attorney continues. Now you indicated that Mr. Mayo, meaning Devin, sent you a voice note. She says, yes. What, if anything, did he discuss about the defendant? And Akira is saying the sexual conversations that Brenay and Timothy had, the sexual context they had. Brenay says, object, Your Honor, hearsay. And the judge sustained it again. She got two in a row. Now she was watching ImNotALawyerBut. Listen, like I would do decently on some objections. I'd be in there objecting left and right. And she got him sustained. So then the next question, and what, if anything, did you know about the defendant, meaning Brenay, and Mr. Montague, meaning Tim, having any type of sexual conduct? So she's asking her more directly without the hearsay. And I didn't know anything about it until after the whole separation, after March 14th. And we got more memberships. Thank you, T. Christy. And so she goes on to say, it was never confirmed that there was any, at that time, that they had kissed or had any sex other than the video that I found. I had no idea. So now they're talking about this video that Akira finds. I don't know that they ever say the time frame, but let me get to that video. Am I 112 yet? So Akira's attorney is trying to go into this video that she's found. She's trying to get these text messages and these videos admitted. And here's Akira's attorney. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? The judge says yes. And she's trying to point her to some exhibits. And she asks Akira, do you recognize these exhibits? Akira says, these are conversations between Timothy and myself. His name in my phone is Kiddo's daddy. Are you familiar? Blah, blah, blah. So while she's trying to lay the foundation for these text messages, Brenay says, Your Honor, these messages look like they've been altered. It looks different from the messages she provided. The judge says, hold on. She says, sorry. She says, just object. And then Brenay says, objection, and asks to be heard. And then Brenay says, okay, I'm sorry, objection, Your Honor. So the jurors are excused, and she asks her, what is the basis of your objection? And Brenay says, so she's objecting to these messages. So looking at these text messages that she provided, I can't remember what the number, whatever. These messages look like they have been altered on the simple basis of the prior messages that she submitted to me. They look totally different. Mind you, that would be me. Mind you, look at the top where it says 5-21-2024, Your Honor. And if you go to the first message of the text message book and look at the message where it says Brenay, it says August 8th. I got lost in her argument. I'm not going to lie. I was reading this and I said, now what? But I'm going to just keep going. How is it that these messages over here actually say 5? The actually says 5/21, but the messages on the real screenshot from a phone, it says August 8th. How does that work? And the evidence that I submitted look exactly like the first page and nothing like the other exhibits that she's trying to put into evidence. And then the judge, who like me, the judge is like me because he said, I'm not sure I follow Miss Kennard. But Miss Jones, are you ready to say something? And then Akira's attorney says, yes, Your Honor. All of these messages are from iPhones. So when you export the entire conversation, which is like 10,000 pages, it comes out, I guess, like this. Also, so she's basically explaining it. And Akira's attorney also says, we sent all this to her. So she got all this. The judge then explains to Brenay, the proper procedure is that Akira's attorney can lay a foundation and ask the witness about the exhibits. When she does, and she has done that, then she moves them into evidence, and then you can object. So she explains the process. The jurors get brought back into the room. Akira's attorney then goes back through the messages, and she's again laying the foundation. Does it have the name that you know? Is it your name? Is it your number? Does it have Timothy Montague, his number? Does it say Kiddo's daddy, which is how you saved his name in your phone? Do you recognize the number on these messages? She's laying the foundation. And, will it help in aiding in your testimony? She says yes. So then she says to the judge, can these be admitted? And then Brenay says, Your Honor, I object to that for lack of authentication. I don't believe that these messages are true. They look different. As she stated, timestamps on each of these messages. But if you go back to the binder and look at the messages between her and my ex-husband, they don't look the same. They look altered. And I provide messages from an actual screenshot from an iPhone because I'm an iPhone user as well. And it does not look the same. So I'm confused. I need to see and make sure that these are actually the evidence. They look tampered with. They look tampered with. And then the judge says, well, based on the witness's testimony, I believe a proper foundation has been laid. The objection is overruled. She was on a roll. What happened is Brenay started thinking she was a lawyer. She started feeling confident, like, look at me. Objection, I'm sustained. But then it got overruled. So she got shut down. But hey, nice try. Do what you gotta do. You representing yourself. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you for trying. So then the messages get admitted. And then I got confused right here because I'll tell you why. She has these conversations admitted, these text messages. And the attorney asks, is this communication with your then husband in 2021? Okay, so the split happened in 24. This is 2021. And Akira's like, yes, this is me talking to my husband. And what were you talking about? He was actually messaging me about how Kennard, Brenay, made him feel. He states that I shouldn't disregard his feelings because he has the right to be upset. He stated that Brenay makes him upset. She's so lazy. And the whole, she says, do I read it verbatim? The whole ish about TV just pissed me off. Y'all literally are sitting here with the TV off. And as soon as no turns something on, it's an issue. And so I think he meant soon as he turns something on, it's an issue. He stated that she does nothing at all. He's clean and he's done the dishes at least every day since we've been here and she's done none. So I'm confused. Maybe they was living together in 2021. I don't know. But that was Tim talking about Brenay in 2021 and saying apparently that she's lazy. So I don't really know what that's about. And then there's more conversations with her and Tim kind of talking about their marriage. Him saying, I feel like you turned your back on me. And she's saying, I never did, kind of love you, blah, blah, blah. She talks about going to therapy. Here she's talking about, needing therapy because of all the things she's going through. I know she testified about her staying with them twice. So maybe the first time was that time. She testified about Brenay staying in their marital home twice. And the last time was that December 2023 period. So maybe the other time, it was around November. I know the other time was around Thanksgiving because the whole premise of it was, according to her testimony, Brenay was saying she didn't want to be with her family. She got into it with her mom or something like that. So I don't really know. But at some point, apparently Tim was calling her lazy. So here she's just talking about like how Tim being gone has impacted her life. She wakes up early to take the kids to school. She doesn't get to bed around 1 o'clock. She's doing, everything. She's on Medicaid and EBT, and she's kind of going through, the impact all of this has had on her. Let me keep going. I found this to be interesting because, again, the whole point, right? The kind of alienation of affection. The basis is you guys have this good relationship, and this person has broken it. And it was so interesting that she pretty much was telling him that in her messages. She, meaning Akira, was telling her husband Tim on January 31st, 2024. So this is a few months when everything is happening. He says to her, I get that, but you already feel like your feelings are not valid solely based off of your own thoughts. And I don't want you to feel like that. The next message he stated, it's just that all of this is too much. The fact that you keep trying to make this about Brenay and it's literally not. So he's telling her, no, it has nothing to do with her. And obviously she's feeling uncomfortable about it. I told you time after time, think about this. You're basically saying that she came in between us, our marriage in parentheses, which is false. But yet you want me to be with her. And then you tell me you're uncomfortable with our relationship because we have history. I don't know if there's some typos in there. The thing is that you don't understand. We have been friends longer than anything else. No feelings involved, no strings attached, none of that. No sex, no kissing, none of that. Literally just a genuine friendship. And I keep telling you that. But yet you still say you're uncomfortable despite everything that's happened in our marriage, with our family, with your family, all of that. It makes no sense, bro. So him gaslighting her, basically trying to tell her, no, there's nothing with me and her. Girl, you crazy. And here she goes. I was letting him know how uncomfortable I felt and letting him know my feelings about how I felt with her being in our home and how I felt about the shortcomings of our marriage at the end, the shortcomings of our marriage. And I was telling him how I felt like Brenay was a wedge in between our marriage. Let me keep going. What's the next one? Right. What page is that? 124. I think we're almost at the point where she goes more into the video. And she's, are you still sleeping with him? Yes. He had texted her about getting her pregnant, which, boy, this is March 18th. He texted, so they separated, what did I say, March 4th? So this is actually after the separation. What did he say? Might get you pregnant. How did you respond? I said, you won't. Oh, they separate. When did they separate? Because why was you texting that? Condom period, which he refused. And what she said, they had sex after the separation. This must be the one. But if he was trying to be cute, y'all had sex after the separation, and he's saying he gonna get you pregnant, boy. Let me stay focused. And that's what he texted you. Yes. Now, and then she texted him, my butt crack was itchy and that we should record more often. And what did you say at the bottom? I want to get ate up. Maybe the point of this is that they were happy. I don't really know. And this is text messages with your husband. Yes. Yeah, you mind your, hey, to each its own. I ain't no judgments. I'll do what y'all want. Do what you want. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here. Let me keep going. What page am I on? 126. Oh, 126 is where we find the video. Okay, so here we go. Do you recognize this exhibit? Yes, I do. This is a video of Kennard, meaning Brenay. Well, without going into, so she is, saying what it is. And how did you obtain this video? Akira says, I obtained it I was filing my taxes, me and Timothy's taxes. I was filing Timothy and I's taxes. She was trying to say it right. And I couldn't upload the tax forms from my phone. So I had to airdrop the tax forms to the computer that him and I shared. So by airdropping them to the computer, I was able to log into the tax portal and upload them from the photos. So she is on the computer in the photos of the computer. Upon opening the photo gallery, okay, she's just here to get tax forms. Imagine this. Imagine you trying to do you and your husband's taxes. And not only do I see our taxes, I saw multiple videos of Brenay and Tim. I saw screenshots of messages between the twin sister, Corinne, and Timothy. I saw screenshots of me telling Timothy about a pedicure I just got. He had a thing for, we got another objection. Here's Brenay. Objection, Your Honor. And then, but this time, Akira snuck in French tips. So she was saying he has a thing for French tips. The court says, hold on, I didn't hear you. Akira says, I found videos of Kennard and Timothy in the computer. I found screenshots of messages that I sent Tim, and he actually told Brenay in a screenshot to do the same pedicure that I had. Now he was telling her to get a French manicure because he liked those. I saw screenshots of messages between him and Corinne, Brenay's twin sister. I saw a lot of disturbing things in the photo gallery. And then the judge says, objection is overruled. So she lost that one. And then she's asking, is this video relevant? Akira says, very relevant, because I watched it over and over and over again. Do you know what month and year you watched this video? Akira says January of 2024. So she finds this video and all these photo gallery things in January of 2024. That makes sense. She's doing her taxes. Does the video, so now they're admitting this video into evidence, right? And she's talking about the computer, how they got the computer. She had access to the computer. Also, she said, do you remember what the password to the computer was? It was the computer that she and Tim shared. The password were all these numbers and then big B, little b, exclamation point. And I said, who made up that password? Anyway, we're going to keep going. So then the video gets published to the jury. Well, it starts to be published. The judge says you may publish. And as that's happening, right? Your Honor, may we have a moment to make sure the sound works? The judge says, yes, ma'am. The Akira's attorney says, thank you, Your Honor. And then the judge says, Miss Jones, meaning attorney, let me ask you to stop for a second. Yes, sir. The judge says, and let me ask all of the jurors except juror number 2, Miss Snow, to step to the jury room briefly. Please don't speculate as to what we're doing. Don't discuss the case. So right before the video is played, it's not even played, the judge stops and tells juror number 2 to stay in the court. And then here we go. Miss Snow, meaning juror number 2, I understand that you got the bailiff's attention and told the bailiff that you find this video to be offensive. Hold on, let me put some things on the record. So the bailiff approached the bench and whispered that to me. And I have asked the rest of the jurors to step out so that I can address you. So first of all, we haven't seen the video yet. Second, I understand that some jurors may find some evidence to be offensive or distasteful for a wide variety of reasons, and that's okay. Jurors are human just like all the rest of us. The question, ma'am, is this. Can you put your personal feelings aside, watch the evidence, listen to the evidence, and then follow my instructions on the law at the end of the case? That's the question. Juror number 2 responds, Sir, Your Honor, I heard something in there. I've heard testimony. I'm hanging on a thread. I feel I am personally getting sick. It is very, very offensive to me because of my story. And my stomach is now, it's in a knot. I would just not expose myself to this. The judge says, do you think you can continue as a fair and impartial juror? Not if we're going to continue to develop the story in this manner. No, sir. I have to plug my ears to what's being said. I understand what we're doing here. I'm making efforts. This is not the first. There was other testimony that was presented, and I'm like, it's okay. I can do this. I'm all right. It's just another person's story. It is a part of the evidence. So, yes, I think I'm making efforts towards not taking it personal or being, listening to just the testimony. Then I recognize that I'm here. Something was said, whether I believe I heard it on the tape, and I was like, no, I cannot listen to that. I'm going to have it going on in my head now and as I sleep at night. Then the judge says to Akira's attorney, any objection from the plaintiff if I excuse juror number 2 for cause? And Akira's attorney says, no, Your Honor. And then she asks Brenay, do you have any objection if number 2 is excused? And Brenay says, no, Your Honor. And so juror number 2 gets excused. Juror number 2, if you're listening, what happened, girl? What happened? Were you cheated on before? I have so many questions. What do y'all think? I'm so curious. I mean, it could be anything. Was she cheated on? They hadn't even watched the video yet. So I don't know. Did she think she was about to watch something explicit? I don't know. I have so many questions. Well, anyway, the point is, juror number 2 gets excused and the trial continues. Let me, okay, we only have like a few pages left, so I'm going to go through them. So she asks her, Akira's back on the stand, where was this video taken? Akira says, it's in my living room, in our marital home, our living room, and our kids were in the other room. They were asleep. I was asleep in the other room. And remember, their living room has a door to it. So she says, I didn't know any of this was going on. I was asleep and our kids were asleep. And I know this is our marital home because the artwork that you see above her head in this video is actually the artwork that we did for a double date night. Devin painted some, Tim painted some, I painted some, and Brenay painted some. She said we did a sip and paint at our house. You can see she sipped quite a bit. Okay, now around the 2-minute mark, the defendant, meaning Brenay, so they're watching the video now, right? So at the 2-minute mark, Brenay indicates that she had just had sex with your husband. And Akira said, yup. And then Brenay says, objection, Your Honor. I didn't say that. That's not what I said. And then the judge says, the jury will be guided by what the jury heard. The objection is overruled. And then the attorney says, can I bring your attention back to the 2-minute mark? Can you pause it? What do you hear Brenay say? And Akira says, basically, I heard her say, quote, even though we just finished having sex. And you heard that clearly in the video. Akira says yes. And then Brenay again says objection. And the judge says overruled. I just overruled you. Stop objecting. This is coming in. Then the attorney says, what else did you hear the defendant say about her sex life with your then husband? And Akira says, she states that she wants it from the back, from the front, from the side. She wants it all the time. Sick. She states how he makes her genitals feel. Hold on. Yes?
Dad's back with Micaiah.
Thank you.
So are you going to be...
I'm on the video. Give me a second. Why would my child come in when I'm reading this part? Why would my child come in when I'm on this part? Anyway, I'm almost done. Sick, she states how he makes it. Okay. And then the attorney says, and I know this is hard for you. I'm sorry. But how did the defendant say he made her genitals feel? And then Akira says verbatim. She said, I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm not going to say it. But do you see that? That's what she said. Everybody clear? I want my how do I make it? Oh, okay. Everybody clear? I'm gonna move on. That's what she said on the video. Okay. And then the attorney says, now can you play 1 minute and 27 seconds for me, please? The video plays. And then the attorney says, whose part is she describing? Are y'all still with me? Is she describing in that video? And then Akira says, I feel sick. She was talking about my then husband, Timothy Montague Jr. Because who knew he was a junior? And then y'all know what was coming. Objection. Wait, y'all. This isn't funny. This is what I can't do. I'm not doing this ever again. I better have, listen. I better have 100,000 subscribers after this. If you're not subscribed to my video and you're watching, please subscribe. Okay. I'm doing a live. This is my version of what are those called? The all day things in an attempt to get $100,000. Also, I mean, 100,000, I'd like $100,000 too, but in an attempt to get 100,000 subscribers. Also, because as I was reading this, I was like, this is insane. If you're in my Patreon, I have shared this in my Patreon. And when I get day 2 for this trial, which the court reporter is supposed to have it to me tomorrow, I'm going to be putting that in my Patreon as well. So if you want to join the Patreon, you can do that as well. Or if you just want to support me and become a subscriber so I can get 100,000, that would be amazing as well. Okay, let me keep going. I be forgetting you know, when you're a YouTuber, you're supposed to do the little ads in between and support yourself. I be forgetting. Here we go. Whose part was she describing in that video? She says, I feel sick. She was talking about my then husband. Brenay says, objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. The judge says, overruled. And then the attorney says, pause it for me. Now, you talked about a painting. Is that painting shown in this video? Yes, the paintings above her head are the paintings that we painted during date night. We all painted something that meant something to us. I'm very artistic, so it was my idea to the sip and paint. And during the video, did you hear clearly what the defendant said she wanted to give your husband? And Akira said she wanted to give him the world no matter what. The moon, the stars, Jupiter. She'll buy him whatever. Imagine hearing this woman talk to your husband, say that about your husband. Meanwhile, she got her own husband, and her husband is the cousin. Akira then starts talking about their financial issues. If I say one root problem, well, the only problem we really had was financial issues. We were in our early 20s and we can't do what normal 20-year-olds are doing because we got married early and had kids early. We couldn't go take a trip in Barbados. Barbados is so specific. If we wanted to, we had life to handle. We had decided to adult early. And after the date of separation, did Mr. Montague take any trips? So now asking, since he'd been with Brenay, he took a few trips. He went to Las Vegas. He went with Brenay. He told me he was going to Kansas. He told me he was going for a business trip. He told me he was actually going to see about getting he was going to see about getting a job to be a football coach because that's where what his second dream was, other than actually making it to the NFL, was to coach in the NFL. So he was putting forth the effort to go to coach at college. So he told me he was going to a local college in Kansas to interview, but instead the job that he was doing was the job he was doing was actually Brenay. Now, you said you had financial issues in your marriage because you were young and you had 2 young children. The defendant stated she would give your then husband whatever he liked. She'll buy him the moon, blah, blah, blah. Then she sung the song, You Can Have Whatever You Like. That is a song referencing by T.I. that his woman can have whatever he likes. And who is singing? Brenay is singing, because you can have whatever you like. And then the video plays some more. She stated she would give him all her if she could. And now the attorney is asking, when you found this video, were you still married to him? Yes, I was. I was filing our taxes when I found the video. Were you guys living separately? The attorney is asking, or apart? Akira said we were living in the same house, and you indicated you found this video when? In January of what year? 2024. Now I'm going to ask you, were you still sleeping with your husband at that time? Yes, I was. And before we move on, this may be hard. After you found this video, how did you feel? And if you need a moment, just let me know. Akira says, I felt like a failure because for my friend to say that she gave him gave her all to him is insane to me because I literally gave my all. I risked my life twice. How did you risk your life? I almost died giving birth twice. I risked my life, my career. I risked everything. I literally gave everything to like my last dime. I have a lot going for myself, but I chose love over being successful. And I'm a very smart person and a dominant female, but I was submissive to someone who took full advantage of me, who told me they loved me, showed me they loved me, but actually had ill intent the whole time, who actually seemed to really be jealous of what I had. And I gave him everything I had. I bought him a car, not one car, but my family even bought him a car to help put him through school. So not only did I give him my all, my grandmother, Big Cheryl, gave her all. My mother gave her all. She maxed out her credit cards while she was in law school to help me help him. When I say max out all her credit cards, she had to call her mom, her dad, to ask for financial help because she was too busy helping me. That's what I mean. Like, everybody gave their all to support his dreams. I put everything on the back burner so he could be the breadwinner and take care of the family. I felt like a failure in multiple ways. Like, I failed my kids. They're now a statistic, a Black statistic. We're not known for having 2-parent households, as Black people are not known for that. So now they're a statistic. I feel like I failed my mom because she gave her all to me so I can give my all to him. I feel like a failure as a wife because, again, like, I gave up everything to make sure that he was good, because to me as a wife, it's about sacrifices, and I sacrificed everything. And then how did you feel after you found the video? No. After you found this, how did you feel about Brenay after you found the video? And she says, I was very numb towards her. More so, it took me longer to even have any feeling towards her because I couldn't wrap my head around how sick a person could be in the head to mess with her husband's cousin, somebody that grew up together. Timothy and Devin grew up together. They grew up in the church together. Their family is very religious. So also, as a person who is such a woman of God, to commit adultery and to disrespect their spouse and disrespect somebody else's marriage, I was more so disgusted, if anything. And I was in disbelief that somebody that I confided in about my marital issues, which was really just money and like small things about not helping clean up or like get your shoes out of the living room, took full advantage of and manipulated me. What do you mean by that? Out of her, blah, blah, blah. I viewed her as a very close friend. Like, I don't bring everyone around my mama. I don't bring everyone around my mom. I don't bring everyone around my kids. I'm strict on it. I let you around my family. I have now opened them up to and exposed them to this person. I have to protect them mentally, emotionally, physically. So when I brought you around my kid, that's how you know I really love and respect you. I consider that girl a sister. I don't give a title of auntie to anybody. You're somebody that I could have relied on. I called you first before I called my other close friends who I've known since middle school. I definitely considered her a close friend. So then she said when she found the video, I immediately got hot. I started sweating. I looked around the room. I would see like these blue spots, like I was zoning out. It was as if I was about to pass out. I was shaking really bad. My voice was cracking. I actually sent the video to Timothy. After you sent the video to Tim, how did you respond? He immediately called me, but I couldn't answer. I couldn't even talk right, and I felt like I was about to pass out. I was overwhelmed with emotion and blah, blah, blah. I started to lose my vision. I couldn't wrap my head around. My head was hurting. I was sweating to the point where you could see the sweat on my shirt. I had like a white pair of pants on. You could see the sweat like on the crotch area, like every crack and crevice had sweat. Come on, girl. And then now in your amended complaint, you talked about the defendant's clothing. What was important about her clothing in this lawsuit? She said, this is Akira. It's no secret that she has big breasts. So she would wear like tight fitted, they were oversized shirts, but they were still like fitted where you could see her breasts a little bit because she never wore a bra. Wait, this is definitely a Tubi movie. I'm giving her an Oscar performance. She really was like physically reacting clearly. You could still see her breasts up under her shirt a little bit because they're very large. But her shorts, she wore like, if you know volleyball, you know they wear like little short spandex shorts. She had shorts like that walking around the house when they were going in her crotch in her private areas. And whose home? In my marital home. Listen, I wish you would come up in my house with some little Daisy Dukes on. Girl, I wish you would. Hello? Let me keep going in case anybody thinks that I'm really wishing they would, because I promise you that's not a good idea. Let's keep going. How did you feel when she walked around like that in front of your husband? I actually asked one time because she put a bra on, because not only was my husband in the house, but my kids are there. And she informed me that it's too hard for her to wear a bra because she has weight issues due to the weight of them, her breasts. And I was like, okay, well, you need to do something. I also mentioned to her about her shorts being short. I shouldn't be able to see your butt cheeks. My mom, I also mentioned to Devin, I said I don't think she should be having that around my kids. If that's your wife, tell her to put some clothes on. I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable or self-conscious about her body or whatever. So I tried to tell her the best way that I could. But when I noticed no change, I told Devin, get her in, basically get her in check. And who was Devin? Devin was her husband. So then we have a new exhibit. This is Brenay and Tim in her marital bedroom. Y'all see that part? This is Kennard and Tim in our marital bedroom. Tracy, get out of my house. Get out. You cannot be here anymore. What Big Cheryl said, I don't know where you're going, but you're getting the fuck up out of here. Figure it out. Good luck. Okay, so we're on to this exhibit. And you indicated this was a video of who exactly? So the exhibit is a video. Timothy Montague Jr. and Brenay Kennard. And how did you come across this video? I found this video at the same time as I found the other video you just watched. I was doing our taxes. Okay, just for the court to know, how many videos of the defendant and your husband did you find? I found quite a few, but the ones that drew the most attention, there are about 3 or 4 of them. And did this one draw your attention? Yes, it did. It's relevant. Yes, it is. To alienation of affection and criminal conversation. Yes, it is. Does it? Okay, you know, the lawyer thing. Does it fairly and accurately depict the thing? That's what they do. Any objection? No objection this time. And then it's admitted, but then, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good place to break for the evening. So in just a minute, I'm going to remind you, blah, blah, blah. So they end right there. You guys. Anything, Your Honor, for the video? That was it. That's it, guys. That's the script. That's the transcript. That's the transcript. Tell me how you feel. I'm actually, like I said, I hate doing lives, but I'm actually happy that I did this one because everyone deserved to have gone through that with me. Because what the hell? You guys, what the hell? I know everybody was covering this case, like the people who were in the courtroom, and shout out to them. I always am a fan of people in the courtroom. Shout out to them. But being able to read that was just, man, that was a crazy cliffhanger. Can you imagine if I was a juror? I would be like, well damn. You're here longer? I think we can stay here longer. Can we get some more? Okay. So listen, the court reporter has to send me day 2, but I'm traveling tomorrow. So if I get day 2 early, then I'll do the live for that. But the transcripts were so expensive. I only paid for 1 and 2. We gonna end if I get it. If I get it early before I get on the plane, then we'll go through it. But if I don't, then I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be in my Patreon. The reality is, regardless whether I go live or not, all the transcripts are going, or day 1 and day 2 gonna be in my will be in my Patreon. So if you want to be a part, yes, you have to pay. Transcripts cost money, and they cost a lot of money. And that was how much? 148 pages? Cost me dollars. So if you enjoy that and you want to support the fact that I paid for that transcript, you can join the Patreon and get that transcript and any of the other documents that I get and pay for. You can make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel because I'm trying to reach 100,000. Let me check before we go to see what I'm at. Don't see my money. 99819. Oops. 99,819. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I have the debrief, the podcast I do with my husband, where we talk about some of the cases that I am covering on my videos. That will be released tomorrow. So make sure you watch that. And I think that's it. So thank y'all for chatting with me. Hour and a half. I did pretty good, right, patrons? Patreon, I did pretty good to not, I don't like lives, but shout out to y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, join the Patreon, follow me on all platforms. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. I'm not a lawyer, but same name everywhere. Y'all have a good evening. And listen, have a good night, but listen. Don't go break up nobody's marriage, okay? Don't do that. And don't let nobody stay in your house and not have clothes on, okay? If they doing that, kick them out, okay? And don't ever try my husband, because I will be doing an I'm Not a Lawyer But case on myself, and I don't mind it. All right. All the best to everybody. Bye.